Hi everybody, welcome. It's Chris Petri. We're going to create a beautiful oil painting today. It's going to be more or less a landscape with a house and a small shack in the back here, maybe a garage. We'll cover everything A to Z on how you'll put this all together. We're going to cover the pencil sketch where we do just a quick outline with pencil to get our basic drawing in. And then at all times we're going to have our palette, our wax paper palette paper, on camera at all times, so you'll see all the color mixes that we're going to use as we go. I go with a real simple mix of just the primary colors, and then from there we just mix in a little bit of white to lighten up some things here and there, and we use maybe one color that might be a little bit phthalo green. We add in there maybe for a little bit of interesting greens, but other than that everything is pretty basic, and we just primed the canvas with some yellow ochre to start with. Really light, super light glazing of yellow ochre to start with. And you'll see how we're going to do that. So we'll cover everything here. Again, all the things you'll need to, the information you'll need to paint this, I have all my supplies down below in my description box below the video. I'll show you the paint brushes I'm going to use. So I'll have all my paint brushes. I'll explain what number paint brushes I'm using, and when I change paint brushes, what sizes I change to, so that you'll see that there is a kind of a method to it of the size brushes you're using and while you're painting. And then, other than that, everything else is pretty straightforward. So let's get excited and get started. And here we go. All right, we just saw the finished painting, and now we'll just kind of rough in with our pencil, our sketch to start out with. I figured this painting, we're going to try to stick with maybe 1/4 up from the bottom. So if this was like a recipe, and this is a 1 cup here, half cup would be here, 1/4 cup would be here. So we're going to go with 1/4 of the way up on our canvas. This is a hardboard canvas, of course. And I'm just going to make a line across there, just a rough line about 1/4 of the way up. And then we'll just put in a few interesting things with some maybe trees. We'll work it out here. Put some trees over here. Then maybe here we're going to go with a home. And maybe a chimney over here. And some more shrubs and trees over here in the foreground. Maybe a small shed over here, a little further back maybe. Make a little bit of a larger tree here, like that. And that should be good. So we just got a basic house, maybe a garage or a shed over here on the property, and some trees on both sides, kind of like the bookends, the trees on both sides. And we'll put some windows on here. Like that. Maybe there's a door over here, like that. A couple windows here. Just roughing in a few windows there. And we're going to have some clouds and sky. And then the next thing we'll do is maybe we'll just have a little bit of a A little bit of a roadway coming in here. Like this. Maybe a couple fence posts here. So we'll just keep these just simple. And fence posts, they basically, the tops of the fence posts will stay at the same height. And the only thing is they'll get thinner as they go into the distance here. And they'll get closer together too as well. Like that. Okay. Looks good. Now the next thing, let's get some yellow ochre on this canvas here. So I just take my brush and dampen it with fresh clean water. So I'm always working with fresh clean water. And again, these are oils that are water soluble. The brand is Winsor & Newton, and it's the Artisan brand. I have the link in the link below for this paint set. I think I bought the paint set that has like a dozen colors, and then it looks kind of like this. I guess this is the overall set is like this. You can see it again. I have it the link below, but it's about a dozen colors or so. And then I always buy a larger tube of white. Same thing, Winsor & Newton Artisan. And again, these are water mixable oil colors, so you don't have to worry about any kind of flammable thinners and mediums with this. You just rinse your brush off with clean water as you work. And when you're done, you use warm soapy water to wash off the brushes, and that's it. Simple as that. And I'll use paper towels as I go to dry off my brush when I rinse my brush off with the water, and it's as simple as that. So let's get some yellow ochre here on our canvas. And I would just go with a really super light coating. And you can even, when you get a little bit on, you can even take maybe some paper towel. And just take a paper towel. Maybe let's see if we can kind of move this around a little bit. Yeah, we can actually take this and soften it out. The only thing is there might be a little bit of paper from the paper towel that's going to get ground up on the canvas. So it's better off to just go with the brush. So, but in sometimes if you're in a rush and you want to do it that way, you can do it that way. I guess it's not going to... We're just doing a composition here again. We're having a fun time working with our oil paints. And it doesn't have to be all the same as far as the uniformity of the yellow ochre. You can go darker in some places, lighter in others. You can leave some light areas in the sky. But as you can see, I just try to pretty much cover the whole canvas with a super, super thin glazing of this yellow ochre. You can even add a little bit of water and dampen the brush. That also even makes it a thinner and lighter first glazing here, prime coat. You can do this ahead of time. You can prime your canvases ahead of time with some yellow ochre. Even you could do you can be creative as you like. You can maybe, at times, maybe you're going to want a cooler canvas. Maybe you'd mix some blue into it. But as you can see, everything's now covered, and we can start painting. So I figure let's start with the sky. And I use my regular colors for the color wheel. Red, yellow, cadmium lemon yellow, and yellow ochre. And then blue, French ultramarine blue. So that's what I will use for this painting. And of course white to lighten up our tones. Burnt umber, if you want to darken up a little bit too, you can add some burnt umber. And then I always put a little bit of, not always, but most times I like to have a little bit of the Viridian or phthalo green. So for the sky, I think we're going to go with white. A little bit of that burnt umber. A little bit of that phthalo green. French ultramarine blue. A little touch of red. And let's see what we can come up with here. I'll make the sky darker up top. And again, the whole point of this painting and composition is to have fun, to enjoy the process. Each time we pick up a new canvas and create a new composition in painting, we're going to get better. So that's the key. So if we just keep working on it. I'm cross-hatching here as I go with my brush. I've added a little more white over here. Maybe this is a white cloud over here. Can add a little more white there for some clouds. And then when we're done, we'll lift off this tape and we'll paint with the paint that we have right on the canvas. We'll paint over that taped area so that it'll be a complete painting with the canvas. I'll come right up here. Okay. You can kind of make cloud shapes. As you go. Maybe we want a little more blue up top. Here, you can mix in some blue. This is the fun of painting in oils. You can mix a lot and really have a fun time mixing your paints as you go. Pick up another bit of white. Maybe you want to have a little bit of clouds up here, like that, coming down from over here. And again, thicker paint is your final coat. So if you're going to finish up here and make this cloud and pretty much leave that alone, and it's not going to be anything else we're going to need to do there, it's a thicker paint there, a thicker white. Over here, if we're still mixing a little bit, we'll go with thinner paint. We don't want to go that thick if you think you're going to add some more colors to your sky. Okay, we're just sticking to the same colors we started with. And you can use, again, whatever colors you want. I mean, I wouldn't go far from what I'm doing here. I mean, I think I mixed a good amount of color here. And I bring some of the sky color down into the foreground here. In a sense, I feel like you will see some of those colors from the sky in the earth areas here, where we have the grass, the fields, the roadway. The roadway probably would have a little bit of that color. You know, the things on the ground are influenced by the colors in the sky. Sometimes it's lesser to degree, and sometimes it's more. If you had a lake or a river or something, or ocean, that would be kind of reflecting the color of the sky, so you'd see a lot of the same color. That's your sky glazings. You'd see that in a lake or a river down here. If we had like water, you can make a puddle if you want. Sometimes some puddles from rainstorms to enhance the feeling of the sky being reflected down into the bottom of the painting. But I think that's pretty good. I think we have a good feel for that right now, of getting the whole canvas covered with our sky wash, and then even bringing some of that sky wash down into the foreground, just so we have some of that color, again, harmonizing with the whole painting. And then what we'll do is next, we'll start working on our house and our garage or shed over here, some of the bushes and trees and the road, and you know, we'll kind of finish up with the fence post. But this is going to go pretty quickly. This is not a marathon of a painting. You know, we kind of already can see that we've got a lot done pretty quick. Again, we're letting the paint do the work. A lot of this, you know, we get that first bit of yellow ochre on the canvas board, and then from there, once we're adding in our blues and, you know, a little bit of our green and white and red, we kind of have a nice mixture of colors. Once you have that on there, it slides around nice and mixes nice. If you have that wet, very, very super thin glazing of the yellow ochre under there. You could also use a really super light glazing of white on the underpainting. We used to remember seeing all the TV shows like Bob Ross and William Alexander and Lynn Petard and a lot of these other great artists that were on public television when I was growing up and I was young. I used to watch them, so to me it's very comfortable to see a wet glazing first on the canvas and then paint over top of it. And again, it's really a smooth way of painting. It's really nice. You can mix lots of colors, and it's just tends to really flow nice off the brush, the paint, and the mixing goes really easily, versus if we were painting on a completely dry canvas board or canvas. All right, so we can maybe do a little bit of that here. You could add a couple bits of white for clouds if you want, like that. Clouds, you can kind of do the cloud shapes of clouds. They kind of float across the sky. So if we use our brush the same way the clouds would go, if we put a couple of those type of brush strokes with the white paint for our clouds, you're going to notice that the clouds will look more realistic, because we're doing the same sort of movement that the clouds would be, kind of wispy clouds going upwards like this, like that. So that works really well. You can go the opposite direction too and take the brush and don't barely touch the canvas. Just pick a few spots and touch down the brush very super lightly with that kind of swooping upwards like this, like that. And that works well. Okay, so let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll start working on the trees and the house and the shed, and we'll keep going. All right, so we're going to continue painting. These flat brushes really work fantastic with oil painting, especially with architecture like houses and buildings and skies and, you know, anything trees and things like that. These work great. I'm just going to downshift and go to a smaller brush. The first one we started with was a number 10, and these are the Princeton Aspen series brushes. I don't think they're down below in the description, but you can find these on Amazon. You just type in Princeton Aspen, and you can't miss it. It's the brushes with the blue stripe, the light blue, cerulean blue stripe. And again, these are synthetic oil brushes, and so far I've had really good luck with them. They're really handling really nicely. They clean up really great with warm soapy water, so I'm going to continue using these, but I'm going to downshift to my number 4 flat brush here. 10 is what we started with. We did the sky in the foreground with the number 10. I'll set that aside, and then we'll move to the 4, and then we'll be able to match the size of what we're painting with our brush, so you can kind of see how this 4 kind of matches the size of the things that we're going to be working with now here. And then when we have a huge open board like this, then we want to use a large brush like this. Alright, so now we're just going to sort of repeat the same colors for the most part. I think I'm going to take some brown and blue and some white, touch of red, a little more white maybe, kind of a grayish color, maybe a little gold. And again, I won't sit here and like mix and mix and mix and mix. I'll get those colors in together, mixed together just very quickly so that it's not completely mixed together. There's a little variation in there. And again, I'm not going to go super heavy. I have my paper towel at all times in my left hand like this. If you're right-handed, you might hold your brush with your left hand like this, and you have your paper towel here, and then you can take off some paint sometimes just to get your paint a little bit, or your brush a little bit, offloaded. Like you offload some of your paint onto a paper towel. And this way you can go with a thinner bit of glazing here for the actual facade of the house here, like this. And then what happens is if we go with a really nice thin glazing like this, then we can go over it with another glazing of paint, like a darker color for the windows, and we make that thicker, and it'll flow nicely onto the wall here. Whereas if we went with a really thick paint right now, doing this wall of the house, that's going to be a problem. And also, too, don't forget, if you forget, and for some reason, if you forget, you said, oh my gosh, I added too much paint to that wall, you can always take your paper towel and fold it up like this. Fold up a paper towel or a tissue, and you can even lift a little bit, press down, and lift off a little bit of paint if you think you've added too much paint to it. Like that. Just in case sometimes we're all working on our paintings and occasionally we get off track for a second or two and we put something down, and you can always do a quick little lift up with your paper towel or tissue. Paper towel works better. And then let me see, the light's going to be on this side over here, I think, so this will be lighter over here. So I'll take some white. I'll take some white over here. Take that same color and just kind of thin it down a little bit with a lighter bit of color here. And then the same idea. Okay, and that is going to be that side. That's catching a little more light, so we're kind of thinking the light's coming from this side of the painting up here in the sky. But it's kind of cloudy, so it's not going to be a tremendous difference in light and shadows. And next what we'll do is I'll make sure I have clean water. I empty out my water bucket a lot, so I like to have clean water. Every 5 or 10 minutes when I'm working, I'll empty out my water bucket, and then this way I have nice, fresh, clean water in here. And then I'll just rinse off my brush now that we have these two parts of the house painted. And then I'll dry off the brush after I rinse it off, dry it off on paper towel. And then we'll make a darker roof here. So I think for the roof, let's go with a brown and blue. A brown and a blue I think looks good. Touch of red in there too. Maybe a little bit of phthalo green. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks good. So we have a dark roof on here. And for this roof, you can go kind of thick. And again, if you go over something, you can just lift up. Like this, and we can make the other side of the roof here like that. And then we can just like that, pick up a little more paint. Okay, that's good. Okay, and then right away, let's maybe some yellow ochre, blue. Make a nice olivey green. Maybe a little bit of phthalo green. A little bit of brown. That's a little bit toward the gold. We could add a little more blue to that. Alright, that looks pretty good. Maybe we'll go up higher with this green. And now what I'm doing is, since these trees, this is going to be the final painting here, we're not going to go with much more paint on top of this area here where the trees are. We're going to leave that just the way it is. Like that. Okay, and then since we're doing this, let's just move right along over here and kind of keep the same colors going in the painting here. And there's the shed over here. And we're going to make other maybe we'll make this a little bit darker over here. I'm kind of squaring these off, these trees a little bit. I'm not making them. Again, I'm just having fun here. I'm hoping you're having fun too. I'll paint above that roof for some of it, but not all of it. This here, these could be trees in the distance. What we can do, if you want trees in the distance, you could take that color we've just been working with here and then lighten it up a little bit. Maybe a little more blue in it, like that. And right away, that looks like the trees are further away in the distance. So you do a couple of those. And that's kind of a very fundamental principle when we're doing paintings. The further away things are, like these trees now, we're painting further away. They're going to be cooler, more of a greenish blue, and they're going to be a little lighter. So you can see I added that white to it too. These trees here, the distant trees, and then what that does is it just kind of makes them feel like they're setting in the back, further back. And then the darker tonal values, or darker colors we're using close up, those tend to feel more close because they're darker and richer in color. And we'll add some darker darks to these. And then here I'll rinse off my brush again, dry off the paint and water. And what we'll do is we'll sort of start doing a little bit of the lighter areas here where the grass is, and the roadway, and some driveway, and some of the, like that. And then right away that looks good. Okay, so this is coming along nicely. I would say I'll use a little more of this here. A little bit more of that light blue, bluish green that we used in the distant trees. I'll put a little bit of that on the ground here. Kind of repeat the colors and reuse them as I'm going. If I can do that, I'm going to try to do that. And I will leave some of the colors that are, excuse me, some of the colors that are here. Okay, and then I just slowly just get some of this color mixed in here. So I'm just kind of taking the colors that I've used here in the trees and then bringing it down into the ground. So I'm making some of that ground color, and then I'm picking up some of that color that we use for the distant trees, bringing that into. That's a little like we're kind of trying to make that feeling of the grass and the fields over here are further in the distance. And then we can take some more of this, maybe a little bit darker, burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, maybe a little bit of that phthalo green, and then we could have maybe a bush on the side of the house here, like that. A couple more over here. That's all. Some trees around the house here. Okay. Now I would like to work on this garage or this shed here, and I think I'll go with just a little bit of the lighter color here. Like that. And then maybe the roof. Maybe just a little bit of burnt umber, and then that other mix of that white there. And mix around the paint a little bit, and that looks good. Then I can pick up some of that green, that lighter green, and bring that right up to the edge of the top of the roof, the ridge of the roof, like that. Okay, so we can kind of see we're, coming along here really nicely. We'll take another quick break. I think once we take this next break, we have pretty much quite a bit done already. And we'll save the details for last. So windows and doors and things like that, we'll leave that for last. Then the fence posts we'll leave for last. So basically we're just trying to get the larger bit of mixes that we're trying to create here, our glazings. We're trying to get those done first. And then we'll do the fine details. All right, let's take another quick break, and we'll come back and start to wrap things up here. All right, so now we've been working with our number 4 brush. The only thing I would say now is when we're doing the windows, I'm going to go with even a smaller, this is a number 2 flat brush, so I'm going from a 4 now down to a number 2 flat brush, and you can see how that's, quite a bit smaller. It's about half the size of the 4, so we'll use that. And for the windows, we're going to go with basically burnt umber and French ultramarine blue, maybe a little bit of red in there too. Like that. Nice, beautiful dark like that. And then what I do is I load my brush up with lots of paint, and then I even take a little bit of that paint and just take a little bit off so I have a little bit less paint on there. And then I'll just do the windows here, and we did one there. We had another one here. Maybe some green in there too. I'll add yellow ochre to that, because it's going to pick up the green of the trees and the landscaping and stuff. And then we could make a door over here, like that. And then another couple windows over here. And we keep them the same height as all of these windows here, right across. Like that. And then maybe the garage, same thing, except everything's smaller over here. This garage is in the distance. So we'll have 2 windows in that shed there and a door. Then I rinse off my brush. Dry off the paint and water, and then I just try to kind of make a sharp line over here on the bottom of the garage or the shed there. Same thing over here. And what I'll start doing is maybe I'll grab a little bit of brown and white here and just maybe see if we can start getting a grayish color here coming around for our road coming into this property here. So I'll take my brush now. Since I have a larger area to cover, I'll go back to my number 4. So I'll set my number 2 brush aside, and I'll just start picking up the so there's going to be a like that. Now I'm going to do the, now I'm going to create the road is going to kind of have the brush strokes going across this way. Just like that. Okay. Okay, that's good. And again, I'm trying to keep the colors pretty much the same in the composition here. This painting, I'm not trying to create new colors that I haven't used before. I'm sort of just kind of remixing the same colors over and over again. I'll get a little texture over here with the same colors, just a little bit of feeling of some texture over here on the, like this. Okay. I think we could do a couple of shadows. I'll rinse off this brush, the number 4 brush. And I'll go back to the number 2 brush, and I will rinse that one off again, dry it off on a paper towel, and we'll create some of a little bit of a purplish blue. A little bit of brown there too. So now we have sort of a purple, and we'll maybe do a little bit of a shadow under here like this, underneath the eave of the roof. And the same thing over here, just a little bit of a shadow under there. There as well. And maybe a chimney. Burnt umber and the alizarin crimson. Yellow ochre. And we'll put a chimney over here. And then maybe a small pipe for a chimney over here. And I think all we have left is let's do the posts. So the posts, again, that's going to be brown and red and blue, I think should be fine. Burnt umber, alizarin crimson, French ultramarine blue, some yellow ochre as well. And I don't overmix it. I just mix it enough that it gets loosely put together, and then we go right over here and we'll just do our first post here. And posts are, they're wood, so we don't have to worry, they don't have to be perfect or anything like that. Okay. And the next one here, we're just gonna thinner, so we take our brush and just turn it the other way, like that. And we'll take the paint off our brush. After we paint 2 of those, take the brush and just take the paper towel and squeeze out all the paint. And go back in and we get more paint. And then at this point we might have to use our dowel. Sometimes it works. It works to use a dowel, and you can kind of rest it on your table, and then you can rest your hand on it. And this way it goes a little simpler. To try to get some of the details anyway. Like that. This one can be a little thicker. Like that. So the idea is just each post that you go this way toward the house, it gets a little bit thinner. And I sharpen up my brush by just putting the brush onto the wax paper. And this one is a little bit thicker than that, it should be. That's pretty good. And then the next one, thinner. That. And then now we sort of get that where they just sort of blend together, like they're not really like that. And I do want to keep the heights of them the same. I did say I wanted to keep the heights of those fence posts the same, so I'll adjust them a little bit here. And then if you have an issue where you overpaint something, don't worry about it. Paper towel, lift up. Like that. And a couple of the cross beams. And that should be fine. And maybe we have another door over here too. And we'll make that darker. Rinse off the brush, take off the paint and the water. And then we can just kind of brush up a few spots. And I rinse off my brush again, dry off the water and the paint, and go in again. And we'll just put that door in again, there, like that. Yeah, that's better. And maybe a little bit of a darker bush over here on this side. And there could be a nice bit of, maybe a little bit of shadowing here on the fence posts maybe. It's not super bright and sunny in this painting, so but we could still have a little bit of shadowing there if we wanted to. And I think that's it. I think this is looking good. You can also add a little bit of highlight with some white and yellow ochre. Maybe a few of the fence posts. There might be some light over here on that side of the chimney. All right, I think that's looking good. We could lift our tape off right now and then blend that in with some of our colors that we've used. This way it's a complete painting. A frame might cover up 1/4 of an inch on the bottom and around all the 4 sides. Like that. And then the same over here. And there's plenty of sky color here. And I usually just swirl around until I blend that out nicely. And that's fine. That looks good. All right, so that's the finished painting. I'm glad you joined me here. We're going to get together in another 2 weeks. Maybe we'll create something different. Maybe a seascape next time. We did a landscape tonight, and again, we're always going to try to change our subject matter. Of maybe in the coming weeks we'll do more flowers. We're going to create maybe some additionally some city scenes. We did recently I think we did France. We painted a painting of France, like a nice street scene of France. So we'll go around. Maybe we'll pick a different area to paint, something different. But we're always gonna have a lot of fun here. Fundamentals of oil painting, just getting in there, grabbing the brushes, the paints, getting it started, and working with our colors. And you kind of see that once you start working with this over and over and over again, you're just going to get more comfortable with the whole process of mixing your colors, getting your prime coat on like we did, and all of that. So, and then, getting our basic drawing done first with some pencil lines, and then from there, we're pretty much home free. So, thanks again for joining. I hope you'll subscribe too, so this way if you come back the next time, you won't have to search for me at all. You could just have it so that whenever I create a new video, YouTube will let you know that I've created a new video by it'll just come up in your homepage when you open up YouTube that I've created a new painting. And we'll get started on another painting. Okay? All right. So we'll see you soon. Again, thanks for watching, and talk to you soon.